If you've ever asked yourself why your relationships are going the way they are, how it is that things started off so great and then all of a sudden it just seems like you've been bamboozled and the dude that you started with is not the dude that is with you now, then we have a treat for you this evening because we're really going to go ahead and dig into how it is you know love, how it is you recognize love. And as soon as my homegirl joins, we are going to pop on here and really chat with you about that topic because we are tired of hearing the same thing from ladies. And so we really want to help you all understand where the challenges are coming in. Because number one, when we get with individuals, oftentimes we are allowing ourselves to be with them on potential. And we've already talked about potential and how that is a poison, how it can ruin your relationships. Instead, individuals need to qualify to be with you from the start. But even more than that, hey girl, hey,
Hey.
hey. But even more than that, once we get beyond, okay, I'm not going to be with them for potential, it's
Mm-hmm.
understanding what love is and what
Mm-hmm.
love isn't. And
Right.
quite frankly, ladies, it is clear to me.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know. We don't really know what love is. And so let me tell you what, if any of this sounds familiar and you're doing this, I don't mean to step on your toes, but I guess I'm about to crunch all of them. And this is it.
Okay.
If you are meeting people through friends, friends of
Mm-hmm.
friends, family, maybe online dating, whatever, and you just see what you have in common. What do you like to eat? Where do you like to go? Where do you like to travel? Whoop de woo. And then as long as nothing goes wrong, you're cool with staying with that person.
Uh-huh.
That's where you're going wrong. Mm-mm. And even worse than that, if it's like, oh girl, well the sex is good. He really know how to put it down. Honey, that's where you're going wrong. Because here's the fact. You will be sexually compatible with thousands, maybe millions of people.
Who? Say
You,
that.
you will. I mean, it's a lot of people who know how to lay that thing. Okay, guys, lots. But there's only going to be one person from whom you came. And there's only going to be a few people that are going to be in alignment with your assignment, your core values, and your personal mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what those are, if I've already lost you, well, then here we go. So the reason we wanted to pop on today is to really make sure that we have a baseline. Because sometimes when we're having these discussions, we don't want to walk into this believing you understand what we mean when we're talking about love.
Mm-hmm.
And really, we're not talking about the same thing. We're not talking about the same thing. And we just want to get very, very clear for this series, which is the How to Know Love series. It's going to be a multi-part series where week after week, we're going to traipse through this thing and really break it down. So make sure you stick with us because really you can get a whole breakthrough just tapping in because we like to give value and really
Mm-hmm.
understand. So I want to start with one thing, and that is this. The greatest illustration of love for us is looking at our Savior, looking at Jesus and how he loved us, how he died for us, how he sacrificed for us, how he was a servant leader. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, marriage is to be an earthly illustration of Jesus's
Mm-hmm.
Jesus's union and to the church, bridegroom, bridegroom. So that's really what marriage is to be. So when you see people walk around with trash marriages, that is not. That is a terrible illustration of what it is that Christ's relationship is with the church. So that's number one. Number two, how we think about love is tainted. How we think about love is tainted. If you have any questions, by the way, make sure you drop them in the question boxes. As you can see, we're getting right into it, and we don't want to overlook any questions you might have. So drop them in the question box. We'll get to them. But you may have heard this before, but I want to bring it back to you. So I pulled it up. 1 Corinthians 13:11. Stick with me, y'all. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. Okay, what does that mean? How can you take that with you? Or when I became a woman, okay? So if you're thinking about childhood and you're thinking about love through the lens of Disney and Pixar, That ain't it, sis. If you think that Prince Charming is gonna come along, and as long as you get together and it's the right person, everything's gonna go
Uh-huh.
right, that ain't it, sis.
Mm-mm.
Likewise, if you think you have to do a whole lot to prove your value and show what you bring to the table, and then
Mm-hmm.
he's going to magically appreciate you more, somehow you're going to give him more of what he's not already appreciating, but then he's going to appreciate you, and then y'all just go, no, ma'am. None of
Mm-mm.
that is it. All of that, no offense, but that is a childish and childlike way of viewing love. I'm just I don't mean to, but it is. It's an immature way of viewing
Mm.
love. And when we matriculate, right? When we grow up, we have to grow
Mm-hmm.
up in our thinking about finances. We have to
Yeah.
grow up in our thinking about education. We have to
Mm-hmm.
grow up in our thinking about investments. And
Mm-hmm.
likewise, we have to grow up in our thinking about love.
Yes.
Okay? And so when
Woo.
we think about love, it's important to think about love as a verb. It is
Mm.
something that you do. It is something that is done. Okay. You can give without loving, but you can't love without giving. So if you're with someone and it's like robbery for them to give to you, that ain't love. Should I say that again? Come on now. That is not love. Love is an action. Love is
Mm-hmm.
something you do. Love is
Mm-hmm.
a sacrifice. Okay. And love is not just something that you absorb. Love is something that you give. It permeates, it oozes, it's a vibe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh,
love. So if you want the absorption, you have to
oh,
give off the hydration.
oh.
Okay. If you want the effect, you have to be the cause. If you want to receive, you have to give. How do you protect yourself from giving to the wrong people? Well, we have our first question. Do you believe that love is a choice and decision? Absolutely. You choose to love or not to love. To think
Mm-hmm.
otherwise is exactly what I'm saying. A very childlike way of thinking of love. Like, Tinkerbell or something, you just drink a little potion and, oh,
Mm-hmm.
gee golly,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to love you for life.
Mm-hmm.
No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no. I love my husband. God knows
Mm-hmm.
I do. I was
Mm-hmm.
created for this man, and I know that. However, every day I make a decision to love him.
Every
Every
day.
day I make a
Every
decision to
day.
put him first. Every day I make a decision to submit to him, to
Every
respect
day.
him, to
Every
honor him, even in rooms where he's not standing. Every day is a
every
decision.
every
Okay.
day.
So
Oh,
sometimes, every day, come on, Eric. Sometimes we want to put the emphasis on the symptoms of the lack of love instead of going right in surgically about what love is and ain't.
oh,
What do I mean by that? I mean, we want to talk about why he's double tapping other people's photos, or he's cheating, or why doesn't he want to spend time with me? He puts his mom over me for everything. He said he was going to do this, but he didn't. But see, all of that is a symptom, excuse me,
mm-hmm.
sis, of poor decision making up front.
Listen,
Go ahead.
listen. Let me tap this decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the opposite of a decision
Mm-hmm.
is being forced. Do you want anything? Or should you want someone to expect you to give something that they forced you to?
Come on now.
Why? Why and why and why? If it's not a choice, then it's not love. Because when God said, I'm going to give you my only begotten son, he didn't say you made me. He didn't say you backed me into a corner. He didn't say I had to. He didn't say I felt like it. He didn't say it was the only option. He didn't say any of those things. He said it was my choice.
Yes.
And if God got a choice and God gives us free will, then it's always going to be your choice. And the day that it's not your choice, it's not love. Whether it's you, whether it's you not giving him a choice,
Come on.
or backing him into a corner, or saying, if you do this, I'm going to do this.
Woo!
Or him saying, hey, if you my ride or die, because every time we don't ride, we done die.
You done died.
No, if that means, if that's him saying that to you and taking your choice away, then it's not love. We just said every day I choose. It's an everyday choice. Because every day you're not even gonna like him. Every day he not even gonna be able to look at you sometimes. But the love is a choice.
Yes. Okay, let me get to this question. So, hello, honey. She said, me and my girlfriends go wrong trying to chase men, but that's an abandonment wound I'm learning. Could be a trauma response to something that you've experienced in the past. Could be. We'd have to dig into that. It's potentially, or it could be something else. Sometimes there's more behind that. So I'm careful about giving that label without actually being able to speak to you one-to-one. So I'm going to say maybe, comma. Can you explain why working hard to prove your worth to a man is immature? Oh, it would be my honor, honey. Yes. Okay. So first of all, and I want for anybody who just joined us, when we say immature, it's not to be condescending. It's not to be coming left. It's to be honest that when we're growing up, I'm just going to speak in general, right? Especially if you came through with the generation of Disney and Pixar, the girls are playing with princess dolls and looking for Prince Charming, and the boys are playing with Tonka trucks. They ain't even worried about you. So the girls are thinking, okay, I'm going to let my hair down and he going to climb up and he going to come save me. It's going to be the Shrek effect. I'm going to kiss a frog. He going to turn into a prince and all that.
Don't do it.
Come on now. It makes for great cinema. But it really don't translate in real life. But when you think about love, it's very obvious that many of us do not ever trash that perspective, and we still hold on and carry a lot of those expectations into our adult relationships. Likewise, when we're saying, okay, I need to prove my value to a man. First of all, let's go over self-worth and self-value. This is something we talk about all the time before Boaz, but we really out here serving. So let's break this down. Self-worth is your assessment of you. Internally, how you rank you, what you think you rate, right? This week, right? So I'm a 10. I'm a 10. So value is what you believe others around you rate you. So value is external, self-worth is internal. Okay. So when you're telling me, hey, I'm going to prove my worth to him, first of all, worth is internal. So you can't can't make that math start mathing. Okay. First of all. But then second of all, as I said earlier, you cannot enable or persuade or manipulate or influence someone to greater appreciate something they don't already appreciate in the first place. Meaning, when he met you, if his assessment of you was not X, Y, and Z, there's not going to be things that you can do that can change that. So instead of you putting forth your energy almost like a little hamster on the wheel, like I'm a cook, I'm a clean, I'm a do sex and everything in between, honey, pull that back. Pull that back, and then allow those who, when they come in your energy and realize who you are and respect who you are and recognize the value that you have, then give to them. So why is it immature? It's backwards. Instead of giving all of this and doing all of this to convince someone of something, just show up in the excellence that you are. And those who recognize and respond accordingly, they get to experience that element of you. Now, why would this be beneficial? Because when you keep giving and doing and sacrificing and showing up for someone, and then they don't arrive at the conclusion you wanted them to arrive, you become frustrated, bitter, hurt, depressed. Like you then start beating yourself up because they didn't agree upon your assessment of self-worth, but their value that they're putting, what they eat don't make you okay? So you just keep showing up in the greatness that you are. You just keep working on you. And then by not wasting energy and time on these individuals who never saw you on a certain level in the first place, you're saving yourself from the additional healing, heartbreak, trauma you would have to go through by continuing to allow people who never qualified to be in your space to breathe your air. So if you want to keep working extra duty like that, then listen. But what she said, fine china when you see it. You don't need to look for a label. Y'all know we don't
We
play.
talked about fine china, honey.
Fine china and plasticware. Okay, look, that reel is what, like 2 months back. Like, and here's the deal. But I will, our clients be coming with the fire even in the comments. But here's the truth, just in case you missed it before. You have a choice. You can be plasticware or you can be fine china. If you choose to be plasticware is used often. Plasticware is also disposable, but plasticware is easily accessible. So plasticware is equal to the woman who is always answering the phone, always going to be on the scene, going to give up everything she got, even in the sheet. She's just going to be giving. And then when he done, he's going to break you into recycle, you throw you away, or just throw you on the trash. Whatever. I mean, it's plasticware. Don't nobody value her. She's for the streets. She's community. However, fine china often feels like it's been forgotten. Fine china's just sitting up there. Ain't nobody touching it. Every now and again, you might get dusted. The phone ain't ringing that often. You're not going to get all the double taps. That ain't it. But when you have a special occasion, when it's something of importance, when it's something of merit and value, you're reaching for fine china. So you tell me, plasticware or fine china? So I'm just going to say it like this. We have a lot of ladies who are out here working overtime to try and prove their worth to someone else. But the truth is, it's a perspective you can't manipulate. If he don't think that you wife material, then boo, you didn't come from him. If you did, he would recognize you. It's that simple. That's not love.
And when we say pouring out, giving, or trying to prove, you just giving some of yourself every single day. And he's saying, come on, and I'm going to let you. As long as you want to give, I want to receive. As long as it's free, as long as it don't cost nothing, as long as I don't have to make no effort, come on, keep giving, keep giving, keep giving, keep giving. My mind has not changed about you, but thank you for the gifts on the way out. So now you walk away empty or depleted or lacking because he got all your stuff.
Took it.
And he's not giving it back. So when he said save yourself from all of the heartache, all of the healing, and all of the extra steps that you're going to have to go through to get back to the you that you were before you met him.
Yes.
Save yourself, boo.
Save yourself. And look,
yourself.
let's do the water bottle, Erica, because that's when it gets clear. I love the water bottle example. Okay, so let's say, honey, you a whole 64 ounce of water. Okay, juicy. Okay, you full, and then you meet a gentleman, and let's say he's a good 16. We'll give him 32. He's a 32 ounce bottle, right? So you're like, well, I can work with him. Well, we already say this ain't the Build-A-Bear factory, and we say it with no shade. So if you need to talk about that, hit the link in my bio. We'll have a chat. But let's move on. So you're 32 ounces. He's 64. So you're like, well, it's okay that his credit's not as good. Okay, I'm gonna pour. I'm gonna help him with that. It's okay that his savings account is already in the red. I'm gonna pour. I'm gonna help him with that. It's okay that he doesn't pray regularly. He's not really sure about his. Okay, I'm gonna pour into that. It's okay that he's never been in a faithful relationship in his entire life. He done cheated on everybody he done never been with, but I'm gonna be special. Okay. I'm gonna teach him about that too. I'm gonna do that. Okay, so now you pouring and you pouring and you pouring. Well, guess what happens, honey? He's 32. Now he's 65. He's full. You done taught him everything he need. Girl, and guess what he can do now? He can go off and he can meet somebody and now he's full. Whole package, glistening. Oh, but let's talk about you. Oh, now you thirsty. You done poured out all your sauce onto somebody who did not qualify. He never met you where you were in the first place, but you just pouring, ooh, pouring, ooh, pouring like a river. Girl, stop! No! Now you thirsty and you looking at him like, okay, well, you need to pour back, but he was never even tall enough to pour back. He was never on your level. You just gave him overflow and he finna go bless somebody else. Because let's be clear, men love a challenge. Men love a chase. So you can be with them on their journey up if you want to. You may have a 2% percentage of the population of men who will stick by you in the end. But the greatest likelihood is when a man feels like he has finally reached a certain level, he desires a woman on his arm that he believes is equivalent to that level. Case in point. If you were with him when he was down here, then you're not that woman that would be up here because you would have never clutch his pearls. You would have never lowered the crown so he could wear it. And if you did, you're no longer a challenge. So really, you're hustling backwards, my love. So when we're going to talk about what is love, I mean, we're going to tell you in very clear detail, week after week, how How about now? Can you hear me?
Right there.
You can? Okay, boom.
Yes, you back.
My bad, y'all. My husband went in the garage and my audio went right to the Tesla. My bad. So we want you to have a baseline understanding of what love is not, of where your thinking has led you wrong. We want you to understand your perspective and the mindset shift you must make if you really want to receive the love that you're telling us about, the love you've been waiting for, the love you've been looking for, the love you've been giving.
Yes.
Right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that real quick. Because I said earlier that if you want to receive, you need to give. So nobody said it yet, but I could hear somebody saying, well, I've been giving, and I'm still not getting it back. Well, my love, beloved, who are you giving to? Back to the 32 ounce versus the 64 ounce. And people think, well, it's not all about money. It's not all about this. No, it is not all about money. We are not saying it is all about money. But let me tell you what the top 3 reasons for divorce are: financial issues, communication issues, and infidelity. You want to talk about those up front and early, or you want to just put like some sand on it and pretend and it's just going to fix itself? Like your sex is just going to be the solution and we ain't going to have that. Girl, stop. Listen, okay? You want to give to someone who qualified for yourself in the first place.
In the first place.
So how someone qualifies to be with me is not how someone would qualify to be with Erica. How someone qualifies to be with Erica is not how someone would qualify to be with me. So that's why in our experiences for women, we work with you once you understand how someone would need to qualify to be with you. How they would please your mother, your sister, your cousins, your friends. That doesn't have anything to do with what someone would have to do to qualify for you. The goal here is for you to be with someone with whom you are aligned. So for that, we have to talk about your personal mission statement, which you may not know. For that, we must talk about your core values, which you may not know. For that, we have to talk about your boundaries, which you may not have. For that, we have to talk about your non-negotiables, which you never really solidified. See, these are all of the things that have to be solid. They have to be tight, like Google, Apple, Tesla. Like they have to be on the wall. Not changing. So that way, no matter who you come in contact with, either they satisfy the requirement or they don't.
That's it.
And if they don't, why are you talking to them? Why are you staying in texting. Like, oh, well, at least I got somebody. What you're doing is wasting your energy. And the
Yeah.
man that might have been interested in you is not going to touch you while you're still playing with peasants.
Ooh.
I said what I said. I
Say it
said
again.
what I said.
And say it
So,
again.
yes. So you have to make a decision. Are you going to be willing to hold out for greater? Or are you just going to jump for the first thing that comes along?
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm.
I appreciate you taking notes, honey. I'm in these comments now. I'm looking, so if you have any questions, y'all drop them in the question box. We want to serve y'all. We want to give you what you need.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Jesus.
So I know that it is very challenging. It is very enticing. You meet someone and you're like, okay, he finally, Jesus, he's willing to go to church. He's willing to say grace. Okay,
Mm.
okay, he has a job. Okay.
Mm.
She said, I have those down. I just need to stop chasing people in general.
Chase. He who findeth a wife. Find it. You just need to go where you can be seen. You don't have to chase. And not that you don't have to chase. You don't have to chase. You're a wife. You don't have to chase.
If you're chasing, is he supposed to be running away? What are we chasing? Is this a game of tag? I'm confused. Why are we? Listen, honey. No, we don't chase. We attract. We chase.
I
No,
just need
ma'am. No,
I just need to
ma'am. I listen. I don't think I've ever had a male tell me I love to be chased by a woman. What?
mm-mm, mm-mm,
I love to be appreciated. I love to be affirmed. I love to feel valued, but
mm-hmm,
chase? I
mm-hmm,
don't know. Okay,
mm-hmm.
let's see. It's hard. There's so many less men in the church. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So this is why we wanted to talk about perspectives,
Ooh.
right? And limited thinking. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many less men in the church. Well, are you talking about a building or are you talking about in the kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
Because I assure you, there's just as many men as there are women because the women were taken from the men. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, there had to be men.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we confuse the church with the building that we go to and not the
Mm-hmm.
body that we're a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So I assure you, and remember, church is just a hospital for sinners. It's not a museum for saints. So you got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of hardworking, Christ-believing men that would never be on the pew with you. They out on mission trips. They in the community. They working with boys. Like they may not be sitting there with you right there vibing to the choir, but it's many, many men that believe
Mm-hmm.
in the Lord, knows he heard his cry, can quote more
Mm-hmm.
scripture than we can, and
Yes.
living life for God. And they are
Huh.
here. But the problem is, what circles are you in? Are you hanging
Mm.
out where the man would be? Are you hanging out like you want to meet another woman? The question is, are you always with the women's ministry? Do you go to the other ministries and the singles ministries? Oh Lord, I'm gonna come for them right now. Because quite frankly, we didn't come here just to sit here and sing more worship. If we was gonna do that, we could have done that on Sunday. But the singles ministries need to do a better job of
Mm-hmm.
actually having events so that we can meet each other. That's why
Yes.
people don't like to go to them as much anymore because we're not satisfying the objective. It's not giving what
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to give. I want to
Mm.
come meet the other singles and see how much less time I can spend single, but
Yeah.
that's not what we're doing. So please understand that there are just as many men. But as long as you allow that thought to take root and anchor in your mind, then you're going to move with that energy, right? And that's not going to have you in an element and an energy of abundance. It's going to have you leaning towards desperation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
since there's so many fewer men, I need to be grateful that I have this one. And then I need to just hold on and make the best of it. And that's not how this works. See, before you get married, you are to be wooed in that entire season. Before you get married, you are to be convinced that you would be happy with this man. The
Mm-hmm.
challenge is so many of us are dealing with marriage problems when we ain't nobody wife. Like, it's a question. Will you marry me? Yes or no? It is not understood that you're going to say yes. It is
Mm-hmm.
understood that if you have not satisfied the requirements, that I am not going to be your wife. You have not proven to me that you are the caliber of man that God has already told me that I'm leveling up to be with. So it's a no, son. Like, no. She said, I'm beginning to date intentionally this year. I worked on myself and my relationship with family. Where do I begin to date? Okay, we actually have a whole program for that, about
Yes.
helping you to learn where to begin to date, because what we realized is that it's not a simple answer, right? Here's why. Here's why. When you say you're beginning to date intentionally, you worked on yourself. We don't know what that word means.
Mm-hmm.
Because with love, honey, with love, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So let's say you worked on yourself, and then I say, okay, well, what are your boundaries? Okay, what's your mission statement? Mission statement. What are your core values? See, if you don't have some of these things like etched in your
Mm-hmm.
spirit, in your heart, then
Mm-hmm.
when you meet someone, you'll start shifting, changing,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it really didn't mean that. So number one. Number two, you have to know and love self before you love anyone else. So that's why our entry program is before Boaz, before you ever get to LSD, which is
Mm-hmm.
love, sex, and dating. Because in order to get to love, sex, and dating, we have to make sure you know all 7 segments of self-love and are implementing them. And
Yeah.
99% of women don't even know those. You can't be implementing what you don't know. So if
Mm-hmm.
you've never actually been explained that, hey, there's 7 segments of self-love, self-care is just one of them. We ain't just talking spas and massages, bubble baths. We talking about, are you showing up? Do you know, have self-awareness, self-exploration, self-kindness, self-respect, self-growth? Like, do you go through all of these? Have you gone all of that? Have you written total truth letters? Like, have you done these things? So because if you haven't done that level of work,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get back in these streets of dating, you can easily find yourself backpedaling and feeling like you got to go back and do it all over again. When in truth, you may not
Mm-hmm.
have just gone deep enough and anchored tightly enough so that you would be solid in your position, come who may.
Yes.
Come
Mm-hmm.
who may. So, where do you begin today? If we attempted to speak to that in general, again, we work with women and help you through this. Okay, we help ladies know how to know and love self before they love anyone else, and date with intention and purpose to marry. Okay, so that's what we do. But if we were to try to bring value today, I would say know your core values, and when you engage with a man, talk about those first.
Mm-hmm.
It don't matter what high school you went to. It don't matter whether you're a pescatarian or a vegetarian. What matters is your core values. What matters are the things that we're not going to be able to negotiate upon. Because once we're married, I have an obligation then to
Mm-hmm.
lean in your direction.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
likewise, you have an obligation to lean in mine. But right now, the season of singleness is a great time because you get to
Yeah.
pick.
Oh, you are free and you don't even know it.
Mm-hmm. You get to make a selection.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have to be the person you're working to attract,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to be in the places and spaces where that person would likely be.
Mm-hmm.
So we love to say, if you're looking for someone who's, financially stable, loves to discuss investments, things like that, well, then you would need to be at InvestFest in Atlanta next year,
Mm-hmm.
for example. That was this year. You need to be following EYL. You need to be following the Master Investor. You need to be with the Come Up Cousins, because that's where those men are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't care nothing about the shade room and the clubs and the concerts, girl. No. And quite frankly, your man might not be at the conferences at church. He might not be at revival. He could be a believer, but that just may not be where he is. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of men focused activities are centered around finances, because a lot of men are doing their best to learn how to provide and protect. But
Mm-hmm.
women tend to go to places where other women are,
Mm-hmm.
instead of navigating to those spaces where men are, so you can be found. Because truth be told, it is not your job to go find him. It is your responsibility to be in spaces where you can be found. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then when you get in those spaces, is to, make sure that your vibe is one of good energy, good spirits, being happy, making sure you're healed so you can show up better and not bitter. Sometimes we want to go out and be in those spaces, but we don't feel comfortable being vulnerable. So what are we doing here? Like, if we're still closed off and we're still very concerned about someone doing to us what was already done, then we're really not ready to date. So just make sure you do a lot of the assessment with your person to ensure that you are really ready.
Mm-hmm.
And when you show up, it's you showing up and not your representative.
Oh,
Okay?
that's the next
Go ahead,
question, right?
Erica. Go
That's the
ahead.
next. How do you reconcile the fact that a man used to meet all of the criteria at one point, but no longer does? How do you come to terms that person no longer exists? Well, that's what we were just speaking about.
Mm.
That him, that was his representative. And before we even get to a person's representative, when you can only fake what you're not for so long, right? So when in Before Boaz, we tell all our ladies, pause. We tell you pause because we need you to separate yourself, take some time to yourself, and get out of the space of desperation, of needing, of wanting, of gotta having. So then when you get in front of somebody, it's much easier for your discernment to kick in and say, I did not just take this moment to pause and get by myself and take some time to spend with God and learn exactly who I am.
Come on. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you
Can you hear
back.
me now?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. For a Negro to just come up to me and say anything nice to me and me believe him, my discernment is going to kick in, and then my values are going to be at the top of my brain, and then my morals are going to say, okay, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And what about this? When you do that self-check up front,
Mm-hmm.
now, even if a person decides to lie to you, there is a thing called discernment. You will be able to see through a lie when you spend time with yourself, i.e., you and God. So
Yes.
he will let you know that ain't it, sis.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it sounds good out loud, even if it looks good on paper, that person is giving you a representative, in which we've all done that. I'm
Yes.
not saying that he's bad. I'm not saying that I'm saying we've all showed up with our representative up front.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are showing people what we want them to see versus who we really are.
Yes. Yes.
So in order for you to come to terms with that, it is to go back to, one, how it started, two, where you were mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and did you really do a clear self-check of you so that it would be clearer for you to do a self-check of him.
Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. And I noticed that you said the fact that a man, right? A man used to meet all the criteria, but no longer does. So it's important when we're assessing whether we're talking about someone that's in covenant or someone that's out of covenant, right? So are we talking
Mm-hmm.
about a husband or are we talking about a boyfriend? Because here's the thing. No one ever promised that you and your boyfriend was continue to grow together.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't how that works. You can very well
Mm-hmm.
grow apart. That was a season, not, a lifetime. But when you have a couple that's in covenant, that's married, and that understand that there's a three-chord prong, me, you, and Christ, then you will continue to be in counsel with each other,
Mm-hmm.
communicating with each other, intentionally leaning in towards each other so that you can continue to get to know each other and grow together, not grow
Mm-hmm.
apart. So that's
Right.
why we have this whole worldly perspective on marriage, and it's tearing it down, because without
Mm-hmm.
that three-chord prong, you can't help but grow in different directions. You can't
Mm-hmm.
help but have distance between each other. You can't help but no longer be agreeable. You can't help but seem to always be arguing. It's like love and communication is just allergic to y'all now because you're
Mm-hmm.
not growing together. You're just
Mm-hmm.
going through it, almost like roommates you can become to be. But once
Mm-hmm.
you're in a marriage and you're in covenant and you're with God and you're staying in concert with other couples and you've got
Mm-hmm.
accountability partners and you're doing your game nights and you're taking your retreats and you're continuing to pray together, you're continuing to grow
Mm-hmm.
together, then come what
Mm-hmm.
may, the Lord is going to continue to honor you all and keep you all grounded together. Now, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean people won't die, because they will. That doesn't mean you won't lose money, because you might. That doesn't mean there won't be infidelity, because that might happen too. I'm just giving
Mm-hmm.
it to you real. What it means is that as you continue to lean upon the everlasting arms, you will find strength and peace
Mm-hmm.
that surpasses all understanding. You'll be able to come back together. But when we try to water that down in like boyfriend girlfriendship, or play marriage, and not really going in for the full covenant, then you don't have all the protections and promises that are
Mm-hmm.
of that. So you desire something that you're not putting in the work to have. I'm not just saying that's you, honey. I'm just saying that is a common thing that we're seeing these days, and we
Mm-hmm.
want to call the thing a thing. So if
Mm-hmm.
you want all of the promises of God that are to be in an honorable marriage that's in covenant with him, then you must fulfill the requirements of God to enter into and honor that covenant.
Mm-hmm.
Period. So when
Mm-hmm.
you have someone who didn't do that, then they're able to feint the funk with you. And then
Mm-hmm.
when they don't do that no more, they just don't do that no more.
Mm-hmm.
It's that because they're not answering to anybody but you.
Mm-hmm.
And how they feel about you is fleeting. It ain't got
Mm.
nothing to do with how you feel. Remember,
Mm-mm.
we said love is an action. Love,
Yes.
I love my husband. I submit to my husband. I honor my husband. I respect my husband. There is no way I could be this loyal to a boyfriend, because I might not like you tomorrow. Okay? Like, so it's not the same energy, right? So when we really want to be loved, we really want to be treasured, treated, and adored,
Mm-hmm.
many of us shy away from marriage because we fear that our partner doesn't want to marry us.
Mm-hmm.
But then we aim to have that marriage-like experience while
Mm-hmm.
we're in boyfriend girlfriendship, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't make them stilettos fit, honey. It doesn't really work out long term.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little tart going down, I know, but it's true. And then you have the contrast where you have people say, I know a lot of people who married and they not happy. They're still, just because you go to the courthouse and you get a piece of paper, yes, you will be married in this country or even, globally, but we're talking about covenant, which we break down in our coaching. Okay, we go through this in detail. Some of our clients are right here in the comments. They will tell you we break it all the way down. Okay, covenant. When you're in covenant, you can get the
Mm-hmm.
promises, not because you went and you signed. Okay, there's a process, and we have to go through that. So if that person no longer exists, let's close this out. They were truly never there in the first place.
That's it.
You could have seen what you wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
They could have showed you what you told them you wanted to see.
Yep.
They could have showed you what they thought you wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
But now that the newness, the excitement, the
Mm-hmm.
good times have worn out, they are showing you who they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And the wise way to assess this up front would have been to put that thing through some rigor
Mm-hmm.
before
Mm-hmm.
getting all the way down. Now, how do
Mm-hmm.
you do that? That's a lot of what we go through in our coaching experiences, and before Boaz and LSD and then marriage makeover. So she said, I would love to join your community. Honey, we would love to have you. I'm telling you, just tap the link in my bio. You can soak up some gems in that video and you can come on in, honey. I will tell y'all right now, we have every woman apply because we protect our community. We don't let just anybody in. And this is not
Mm-hmm.
to you, honey, because you would be great, but just in general, if anybody's seeing this, we cultivate a community of like-minded women who are all leveling up in life, love, and money. But we
Mm-hmm.
only allow women who are going to give as much as they receive, meaning you're going to love on your sisters as much as your sisters are going to love on you, because this is
Mm-hmm.
a supportive community. We laugh together, we cry together, we pray together, we rise and thrive together, and we don't allow individuals to come in who are just takers. So you will go through it. That's why you have to apply. All right, Gorgeous said, my boyfriend and I are intentionally dating while we are still growing as individuals, finishing college, starting careers, growing spiritually and emotionally. Is this okay, or are we hindering our growth? And then, is this still you? And then she said, we don't want to groom each other. We want to give each other space to grow, but we also want to get married, so we want to grow together. Okay. That's a great question. That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Here's what I will tell you. And before Boaz, which is an exceptional program, it's the premier finishing school for wives in waiting and wives debating divorce. So it helps you learn everything you wish you knew before I said I do. Okay. And here's the truth. The first step is pause.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first P in our simple 3P process that changes lives. Why? Why do we have you pause? Well, number one, we want you to reflect and recognize. Recognize why you are where you are and assess how you arrived here, right? Why do we do that? It's difficult for you to grow
Yes.
and evolve
Mm-hmm.
when you're still held to what the people around you expect you to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you hindering each other? You're not hindering each other. You might find it more difficult and uncomfortable in certain spaces
Mm-hmm.
because you two may learn things about yourselves and it may no longer be congruent with one another. You
Mm-hmm.
could get stronger, you could not. Also, potentially, you might sabotage your growth when you feel yourself being convicted in certain areas because you realize it's going to create space between you and you don't want that. Like
Mm-hmm.
in your mind, the solution is I'm going to grow and we're going to get married.
Mm-hmm.
When God may say you're going to grow and marry, but not him. So is that okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's what we have to have the conversation with ladies who join us right up front and be like, okay, we understand you in a relationship and we pray that that works. But in the event that it doesn't, is that still okay with you? Right? So when you're in college, that is a real season of learning and growing.
Mm-hmm.
Learning and growing. So what you think you know, what you think you want, who you think you are very fluid concepts. A lot of that changes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But the challenge with growing with someone that you're not already married to, right, is that that person met you as the you were then
Mm-hmm.
and loved and accepted you for the you were then. We don't know who the other you is going to be. Hey, gorgeous. So what if that's not in cahoots with what we've been doing? Let's just talk about it. I'm gonna stop sugarcoat.
I'm about to say.
Y'all could be sleeping together now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Putting it down in the sheets. Oh, then you could start being convicted about that and be like, you know what? I really want to honor God with my body. I want us to
Mm-hmm.
be blessed when we're man and wife, and I know it's wrong. And every time we finish having sex, I feel guilty. So I really, can we just taper off? And he like, hell no. What you gonna do?
Mm.
Because you've already been with him. You was already
Mm-hmm.
having sex. Y'all was already
Mm-hmm.
doing this. And now you're changing. So it's almost like what the other lady was saying about it. Now it'll look like you're changing. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
not the person that you were in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So he might think, well, you had a representative. And the truth is you did. Because you hadn't really gotten to know yourself enough to
That's right.
show up authentically as you.
Right.
So if you haven't really gone through the process to really, as we say, know and love yourself before you love someone else, then
Mm-hmm.
they're going to think that they've been with a counterfeit version of who you really are. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why you have more success when
Mm-hmm.
you pause. Because here's the truth. If you're meant to be together, you're going to be together. You don't have to like lock them down to keep them from somebody else.
That's the other side.
Right? Like that you just don't have to. But what often happens is you were with someone and for that season they seem perfect. But then as you continue to grow and learn, you realize it was a whole lot you didn't know that you didn't know. And now they're
Mm-hmm.
not so perfect anymore. But that's okay because there's still more men out here that are also growing and learning. So it's
Mm-hmm.
whether you have enough faith to faith it forward. So can you do it? You can. I know friends who have been together since high school.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough. Most of them have dealt with a lot of infidelity because they weren't able to grow individually. So they've had to grow like together right on top of each other. And, you know, people want to get out and experiment a little bit, but you're supposed to be loyal to your partner all this time, for example. It's a challenge. You got something to say about it, Erica?
Well, the other side of that is, like you said, you can grow together, but are you prepared if God says he's your husband, just not right now? What that means is, and I'm not asking a open-ended question that just flies out. I'm asking you a question that I actually lived. You can meet your husband at 15 and not be able to be in a committed relationship with him until you're 30. So if you are prepared to say, you know what, God, if this is what you want for me, it's going to be for me because that's what you said. So whatever you want us to do and however you want us to do, whether it be together or separately, I trust you. Then I say go for it. But if you're not ready to do that and you still holding on to the possibility of it may not work, that's operating out of a place of scarcity. You're not desperate, and you don't have to be desperate, because anything that God has already preserved for you, meaning any man that God has pulled you out of, no other woman can go into. You to him like you can be you to him. It doesn't matter how they try. It doesn't matter how they shape it. It doesn't matter how much contour they get. They will never be you. But you do have the responsibility of bringing your authentic self into that relationship. And a lot of times, I promise you, God will separate you to mature you, because that's something that he needs from you that you don't have just yet, and vice versa for him. Pull y'all apart, mature him so he can give you what it is that you don't even know that you need yet. God knows how to answer a question. God knows how to answer a prayer. God knows how to answer a need before we even know that that's what it is.
My God.
So if you're ready to do that, we here. We support.
We got you. And there's a phrase that we say, and I believe it's a little bit misconstrued. And I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to go ahead and go there real quick. We say date with intention to marry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say date with intention to grow. Mm-hmm. Because I don't intend to marry anybody until I understand and ascertain whether you qualify, right? Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, I just want to know whether I'm going to enjoy myself with you, and whether you can be honest with me, and whether you show and prove, whether your actions match your words, right? I don't intend to marry you. I don't even know you yet, right? I intend to grow with you. I intend to learn from you, whether that's good or bad or indifferent. I intend to learn about myself from the time that I spend with you, but I don't intend to marry you. I can date with purpose and intention, but my intention is not to marry. So my dear, when you said, we plan to get married, I'm like, because what that's doing, then that's already putting, and it's not the finish line. People think marriage is the finish line. That's the starting point. But that's already putting up for certain activity in the future when there's so much uncertainty in your growth right here in the gap, right? So it really doesn't matter whether you're in college, whether you're 40, 50, 60. The point is, when you're allowing yourself to grow and get to know, remove the pressure back here of, this is my husband and we need to make this work. Just let that be the natural progression, because things are adding up. 1 + 1 is equal to 2. And let that be an option that's not available when they don't. Because otherwise, if you've already made it up in your mind that, hey, we're in the long haul, we're going to get married and we're working through this, then even though all these red flags are being thrown, oh, that's just a challenge. We're going to get through this because I already know we're meant to be. Honey, how many red flags you need? Like, do I need to stick them in your ears or what? This ain't it. I'm not saying that's your situation, but I'm just saying that is how we go through this thing. Like, well, this is my husband. We're going to get together. And even though he cheated on me 17 times in 3 years, I know that he loves me. Girl, love is a verb, and I don't even see that in that. All right. What's up, sweet serenity? I have boundaries and say I can't give boyfriend privileges to guys who aren't my boyfriend. Firm boundaries with men and guy friends. I can't give husband privileges to men who aren't my husband. Facts. Like facts. Facts. And husband privileges will be different from woman to woman. Because what you're willing to do and what I'm willing to do might be two different things. So come on now, because remember, Erica, you told about the woman who runs out to her husband every day in the driveway and she don't consider it robbery.
And some women be like, I'm just not doing that.
Annabelle said, I didn't know, but now I know. Amen. Amen, my sister. She said, thank you. Yes, I am. Amen. God, that's what I'm going through right now. Man, I wish I knew what I was saying then. My mom always says that to me. We actually separated for a year and came back closer. Amen. Amen. All right. What's up, Miss Edgy? Full Valley. All right. Well, that's the human side of us, because the phrase doesn't say date to marry him. It says date to marry, meaning have a purpose so that your lens has a plan. Your lens has a plan. I like it and then I don't. Like, I like it and then I don't. Because if that's your plan, for those of us high D, high motivated, action driven women, we're gonna make that plan a reality.
Make. That don't sound like a decision. That sounds like it's forced. Make.
So it's like you date with intention, meaning you're not just going to be out here playing games. You're not just trading strokes. You're not just in these sheets and all of that, right? And you're dating because you have a desire to serve God in your covenant with your husband and help build the kingdom in the future. Absolutely, right? But that doesn't mean that's why I'm dating you. And that's what I need us to understand. Some people that we date are only there to show us what we don't want in a husband. So I ain't dating you to marry. I ain't dating you. No, that ain't the lens on you. I'm dating you. I'm going to remember. And anytime I feel the future, I'm going to run like the wind. So understand that everyone you date is just not that dude in your life. There's meaning behind all of it. But I see where you're coming from, sis. You know I love you anyway. So she said, thank you. She said, amen. God has been answering my questions. There's a lot I'm healing from childhood. I'm responsible for certain mistakes as well as my husband. I'm working on myself, self-esteem. Amen. Yes, ma'am. Yes. So, honey, I'm just saying, you deserve to be with us because this is what you do. Because the thing about it is, when you're working on yourself, remember, you don't know what you don't know. So you can do everything you know how to do, but that doesn't mean there's a lot over here that you're still not tapping into. Number one. Number two, we all need a support system anytime we aim to undergo something different. Right? Anytime we aim to do something that is not our norm, not our habit, we need someone to be there to support us, to encourage us, to affirm us, and sometimes to correct us in love, right? Because you never did it before. Like, you try to bake that cake, it might not be good, girl. I need some more vanilla extract. I'm just being honest. So we say that to say the reason we cultivate the community that we cultivate is so that ladies are supported in this journey and you no longer begin to question whether there's something wrong with you.
Right.
Whether you're being too sensitive, or if there's something wrong with him, because sometimes our perspective needs to shift. Quite frankly, sometimes our friends are just agreeing with us. Sometimes the advice we're getting from those around us is the reason that we keep having the issues that we're having. Because sometimes we're being advised by people who aren't even in the roles we want to be in life. Like, you don't ask a broke man to be rich. So I just, even if you're not in our community, I pray that you're in some healthy, effective, and supportive community. But if you're not in one, please hear me. That is why we are here, right? We do these lives and we don't mind. We love helping you ladies and chatting with you ladies and answering questions because every little bit helps. But mostly what it does is it helps you to realize what you weren't considering in the first place. And just imagine if we telling you this in a quick live, what you would get if you were actually one of the cyber sisters. Like I'm telling you, like this is a whole movement and permeation day to day. We're always in connection. And when you are working to make a marriage last forever, especially if you're in a family where that is not the norm, especially if you grow up in a household that had a healthy and happy marriage, especially if you know you still have trauma, because we don't believe in relationship problems. We believe in problems you brought to that relationship. So if you didn't know how to fix it before you got in this relationship, chances are you're still not really clear about how to fix it, even though you're in the relationship, and now it's compounding, and now there's drama, and now there's expectations, and now there's frustrations, and then how are you going? So, I'm just say all that to say you might want to consider being with us. Is the program only for single women? Can the program for engaged women too? No, one of our clients that was just talking earlier, she's married. The program is for women. Women who believe in God. I will say it is a faith-based program. Everything we do, we got the receipts in scripture. We're not talking off the side of our necks about what we think. We're telling you what we know. So we help ladies who are wives in waiting and brides debating divorce. It is the perfect preparation because it's everything you would wish that you knew before you say I do. So it's either going to show you why the person you're thinking about marrying ain't it, or it's going to prepare you to be the wife that he really deserves to have, which you are not prepared to be. And I'm just being honest with you. None of our clients, they all, especially when phase 2, they all get in there and be like, ain't nobody never broke this down like this. Like, what in God's name? And we even had a client, I ain't gonna call her out, but she went through it. She was like, you know what? I don't even know if I want to get married no more. I don't even know. Like,
she said, I in the assignment, and that's going to be a no for me.
Right. Because the truth is, a lot of people have this perception of what marriage is, and it's not real. And that's why you have so many divorces. That's why you have so many relationships that are just for the gram, but they're really not happy at home. It's because there's no need in hiding this. We take the lid off of it and say, here's really the assignment. Here's really what the expectation is. Here's really the steps that you can take. Either you're willing to or you're not. Don't glorify marriage. Marriage is a beautiful thing, just like motherhood, right? But motherhood is a huge amount of sacrifice as well. People love to see the cute holiday pictures, but they don't know you ain't slept in 6 days. Likewise, as a wife, there's a lot of giving, there's a lot of planting, there's a lot of submitting, there's a lot of respecting, there's a lot of not saying anything even though you want to say something right now. And you have to learn how to do that. As a wife, we teach our clients communication, not manipulation, not persuasion, not coercion. A lot of y'all don't even know the difference between those, and you're tripping over all of them and ruining your relationship. No one ever taught you this. So we have different levels of program, but we have women in all stages that are in before Boaz. All right, she said the intention serves as a guide so that you have something solid to look for. At least that's my understanding, which is why not every man ain't it. So I believe she was responding to when I was saying about not dating to marry. And if that is your hard-held truth, then you tap forward in that. Like, we're not here to convince you otherwise. We respect your opinion. If that's your guide, then that serves as your guide. We just see a big red risk there of going into a relationship where you're just dating, already planning to date with the intention to marry. We can see where you could really be trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, even if that thing ain't round. So, but I definitely understand where you're coming from, because the alternative, right, could be you just out here dating, you don't have no direction, you don't know what you're doing. But the language you're using is the language lady used before they're our client. Like, we're just not saying it like that. And our clients don't say it like that because our clients understand they're dating with strategy, and they know that their strategy doesn't necessarily lead to marriage. Their strategy leads to understanding who that man really is and recognizing his truth.
Yes.
Because you're dating to grow, you're dating to identify. When you say date to marry, you miss a whole lot that's in the middle that, quite frankly, very few people, if any, are talking about. And we are working to highlight that, because the lack of emphasis on that, frankly, is what we're saying is the problem. The
Mm-hmm.
emphasis is on marriage. What about everything in the middle? And that's where I'm just not, even though I love you and you know I do, I'm not allowing myself to kind of like gloss over that, because I'm an ambassador for actually shining the light. All right, what's up, Annabella? Yes, there was a woman crying to my husband, seeking advice, etc., since she lost her husband. She feels like that was okay to be talking to my husband, although she crossed boundaries, and my husband as well. Okay, see. So here's the thing. Greetings, sis. Here's the thing. Are you saving the live? We'll put it in videos. I only put it in feed for like 24 hours because lives go and die there. But it will be in videos. Sis, if you don't mind, DM me. I have something to tell you about your spiritual life. Okay. I don't know if she's talking about you or me, but okay, we will. There was something I want to talk. Oh, the boundaries. So and before Boaz, we also talk about guardrails, right?
Mm.
And what
Ooh.
I'm seeing right now, Annabella, is that there's a lack of guardrails in your marriage that could protect from certain situations from happening. Mm-hmm. And so that's what happens, though. This is what I'm talking about. We must have boundaries. Okay. The difference between boundaries and guardrails, then we got to go, y'all. We'll be back next week where we're going to tap into what
Mm-hmm.
love is. But we're talking about how to know love. And I'm telling you, y'all, we want to give what it's supposed to give, because we're actually housing all of this in our online digital university within our program, so our clients can consistently refer back to it as we enroll new ladies. So we're not holding back. We're going to be giving that sauce, but this literally isn't even a part. Well, not in this framework. I'm saying isn't even part of our program. Our program is light years deeper. So I say that to say, if you're on this live and we're like blowing your mind in love, my sister, just imagine all the other stuff you're not considering. Okay, so boundaries versus guardrails. Okay, so boundaries are gates that open and close and allow you to engage with people or not engage with people based upon how they satisfy the requirements to entertain your energy, right? So you have to set boundaries. These can be professional, these can be personal, these can be sexual. You set boundaries and you open those gates or close those gates to engage with individuals as
you see fit.
As you see fit. But then in marriage and even in relationships, you have guardrails, okay? Mm-hmm. And guardrails are just like the median in the highway, okay? Nobody is supposed to be driving there anyway, but we spend all this money installing these guardrails. Why? Because just in case things go wrong, just in case that 8-wheeler does a T-bone, just in case it's snowing and there's black ice, just in case somebody's texting and driving, just in case you got a drunk driver, you got something that's going to pop you back before you go all the way on the other side. Now, if you just accelerating and you going full speed, a guardrail ain't going to help you. You're going to burst right through it. But if you unknowingly and unintentionally are finding yourself slipping into a situation that could cause angst, that could cause discomfort, that could cause question in your relationship, when you have those guardrails in place, to pop you right back where you're supposed to be. You need a guardrail in your marriage, lovely. Guardrail, because whether it's intentional or not, you need something that can redirect. She don't belong over here. Redirect. And when you put these guardrails in place early and up front, it's not personal when the situation arises. Case in point, just early today, I was talking to Erica and somebody wanted to do a group chat with us. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, ooh, Eric, I can't do the group chat because I don't really know that I can give him your number like that. That's a guardrail. Because he can't have her number. He can't have her number. It don't have nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with what's already in place.
Mm-hmm.
And when you respect your partner, you respect your relationship, it's no problem to put in things that are going to ensure that it can last forever.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a person that resists guardrails, then
Mm.
where is the priority on ensuring that we are preserved?
Mm.
That's what you need to be talking about on your first 2, 3, 10 dates.
And notice that Shanoria didn't say anything about consulting anybody else outside of your relationship as it pertains to your guardrails. Your guardrails are your guardrails. It, it stands for your mama. It stands for your grandma. It stands for your aunties and your uncles and your sisters and your brothers. The
Mm-hmm.
guardrails are the guardrails.
Yes.
Period.
Period. And the people around you who love you and want the best for you, i.e., me to Erica, will
Mm-hmm.
have no problem respecting them and will correct ourselves if we feel ourselves bumping up against them. And the people who take issue, clean them out. Clean them out. Because they're not for you. They want what they want in your life. They don't want to respect the decisions you've already made for your life. This is how you clean house. This is how you see who's really down for you or who's just around because it's convenient to be near you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Guardrails. So,
You
yes, Miss
say,
Educate. Thank you, honey. Yeah, we saying the same thing. You're right. We do know each other outside of here. So, we feel each other. We saying the same thing. She said, you should be beyond proud of this ministry and vision you're executing from God. Hey, girl, you know it. I'm on assignment. The people will be blessed if they're open to receive it. Amen. Amen. Like we're gonna be honest with y'all. Our client, we love our clients. We love
love,
our clients. And we're
love.
professionals, y'all. I mean, we got degrees, certifications, and all of that. But we're women who just, what up, y'all? We're women who just want to help other women level up in love and have clarity and certainty about what they're doing so they can avoid unnecessary heartache and heartbreak. Just being honest. And there's a lot of conversations, there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of bad habits that just aren't being addressed up front and early for us. So sometimes we try to separate the word of God from our relationships and we
Mm-hmm.
like keep it in a corner like, God, I know you got everything over here and I know you taking care of my money and I know you over the pandemic and hallelujah, but I got my relationship though, God, don't worry about that. I got that. You ain't even got to worry about that. I got that over here. And we help ladies go get that too, because
Mm-hmm.
actually to help you
Mm-hmm.
with that too. And if you would
Mm-hmm.
slow down and take a moment and
Mm-hmm.
assess what you're doing, you realize there's some more congruence we can get to. She said, God bless you ladies, learning a lot just from IG. I can just imagine the program. Well, hey, one of our graduates is right above you. She said, love y'all. She'll tell you right now, like, I don't know, it gives what it gives. But this has been great, ladies. We're going to leave you with this, and then we're going to see y'all next week. And in 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8, y'all have heard this a lot, but I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
just say it one more time, and then I'm going to make a point, and then we're going to break it down next week. We're going to leave you just like this. So you've heard it over and over again. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. It does not delight in evil, but it rejoices with the truth. It
Mm-hmm.
always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres.
Mm-hmm.
Love never fails.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us hear that and we just we let it just fly like, oh, that was cute, girl. Yes, girl, throw the bouquet. But here's the thing. When you hear that comprehensive definition of the action of love, what it
Mm-hmm.
does, how it moves as a verb, when you hear that, you in your insides might think, I could never do all that.
Mm-hmm.
What? And that's how you know there's some work to be done. Because what we want you to do before we get back together next week is go back through that 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8, and circle which one you don't want from your mate.
Ooh.
If you want all that from him, then you have a
Yes.
responsibility learn how to deliver all of that from you. All right, honey, that's all we got. You got anything else, Erica? Because girl, I'm good. That's it. I'm good for the people.
No, girl.
All right. All right. We're gonna be back next week, ladies. 7 o'clock. And we're gonna talk about patience. And I know like we have patience. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. And who do you deserve to be patient to? Some of y'all giving the wrong people your energy, but it's all good. Good night, Isis. Good night, Annabella. We really enjoyed you ladies tonight. Hey, KK. Good to see you. And we'll see y'all next week. Take care.